Um, so for the past week, I've been trying to figure out if I wanted to talk about it and what I want to talk about and why I want to talk about it. Shut up, CP time and whatnot. um, and the biggest thing for me is probably like the why, because honestly, I'm going to be completely honest. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of having the conversation. I'm tired of witnessing the conversation. I'm just tired of it being stuck at, oh, I feel like a really basic level and not really seeing the support or the change. It's like I've noticed change, but then it's like being like on cloud nine, and then all of a sudden you're like dropped into like cloud one, and you're like, okay, what the hell is this? And then you start to realize, oh wow, we're still in this for like the long haul. So basically, the why of this is to set the tone for my community and what I'm trying to establish here. And I kind of want people to know up front where I stand on certain issues, because I don't want it to be a surprise. Because I'm really at a point to where if you say something froggy, I'm a leap. Like, that's just where I am right now. Just no excuses, no nothing. Just I'm just not willing to accept certain stuff. So now that's to get that out of the way of why I'm doing this. What happened? Okay, so I was watching a Life is Strange stream, and I've seen quite a few Life is Strange streams, like quite a few, and I just didn't think anything about it. The streamer is really cool, still cool, you know. So I was like, well, let me see this person's reaction, what they do. Well, the chat got real ugly, real ugly, and I was really, really surprised at the references made to these girls. And I'm going to be completely honest. I think with Dope Nine Entertainment, I really think this was supposed to be a high school. I think it was supposed to be a high school, and then along the development process, they were like, you know what, motherfuckers don't know how to act. So we need to clarify, or we need to go ahead and add in that they're 18 years old and this is a college. Because nothing about that whole environment screamed college. It screamed high school. And that's how I feel about it. So when I see references made, it's me looking at it like, wow, you're talking about kids. You know? Like, okay, well, let me just go into what happened. So throughout the whole stream, people just, of course, just had to let it be known that Max and Chloe, how like just continued sexual references to them throughout. Like, I have been in situations where I've thought a pixelated character was cute and like, oh, that's bae or whatever, whatever, whatever. But it just seemed a little obsessive to talk about how you would screw these characters throughout an entire, from episode 1 all the way to episode 5. Now, I don't know who all in the chat has played Life is Strange, but that's a really long game. And that's quite a bit of a long time to be obsessive over 2 characters. Like, seriously, we get it. Get over it. It was that. And then let me go ahead and add a trigger warning right now, because I'm going to be talking about sexual violence. But it also, during the scene, and also, spoiler alert, I mean, have you watched it, D?
I
Life is Strange?
I haven't even played it. I'm looking it up right now. Apparently, it's from Square Enix, so they usually do some good stuff.
So,
Okay.
I should have told you to watch the thing. Are you going to play it?
Um, I have such a backlog right now that it's gonna be a while. It's gonna be a long. I
Okay, so
mean,
spoiler alert. There is a scene where Chloe is paralyzed from the neck down, and there are references made about how they would have Chloe perform oral sex on them. Remind you, Chloe is paralyzed from the freaking neck down. Now, footer. I do feel like disclaimer. I do feel like we need to, we do need to be a little bit more honest and have an open conversation and be more accepting of, people with a handicap having sex. Because I do feel like sometimes we minimize, don't think about it, or just roll it off our shoulders, you know? But the realm of what they were talking about was not a consensual act. It was straight up like, you don't care if she consents or not. You just see a lifeless body, and the first thing that comes to your mind is to take advantage of it. And then somebody else made a comment saying, oh, well, what if Max took a whole bunch of Oxycontin and her mouth just fell on your dick? Like, anything short of removing her is rape. And I'm just amazed because how people didn't see anything wrong with it. You know? Oh my God, I'm starting to get mad all over again. Like, you could tell these people hated women. Because they started going on and started referring to, like, had these little names for vaginas. One of them called a vagina a semen vessel. And it was like all of it, because they assumed I was gone. They assumed, because I was me. This is me. When I'm in somebody's chat, I am in their space. You know? So I'm not going to go over there and try to take over their space. I'm going to sit there and see how they react, you know? So I'll know whether I need to be in this community or whether I need to just go ahead and get up out of here. That's how I normally. So they assumed I was gone. And the streamer was just playing the game. And I think it was one of them things where when you're building a community, you don't want to rock the boat of your community. And if you don't see anybody else in there complaining, then you're probably less likely to say anything. But in situations like that, I have a problem with that, you know? Because I feel like women shouldn't have to be present for you to say something. And if that's the case, then we're never going to get forward, you know? And, like, that's just the story of what happened. It was, like, some of the things that I witnessed that really, really bothered me. And, like, it was just, like, this one shallow person, he made the comment, and this was, like, the best of all the worst crap that was said in there. But basically, he just said something silly like, oh, teenage girls, they all dramatic or whatever, right? And so a guy actually came in and was like, wow, sexist much? And he said, no, that's not sexist. It's just a stereotype. And stereotypes are based in similarities that people experience, right? So I'm like, no. I mean, you can't. I'm like, a stereotype is not true if the structure or the environment that it's built in looks down upon other people. Like, if you have a distaste for a certain group, why the hell would I trust your stereotype of that group? Because the only thing you're looking at is that stereotype.
Pretty much.
You know? And oh my gosh. And so he was like, oh no, that's an invalid argument. And then his rebuttal was, the security guard, I forgot the security guard name. I don't know. But his rebuttal was that the security guard is a narcissist and privileged. And then he put the footnote, note how nobody said that was sexist. And I'm like, are you freaking 2 years old? Like, can you not comprehend the fact that your statement is talking about one particular person, but the comment you made was about a whole entire group? How do you not freaking see that? And it plays all into my first topic that I wanted to get into, the fear of coming into this space, into the gaming community, into streaming. Motherfuckers are trash. Like, I'm just gonna go ahead. It is some trash ass people in this freaking community. And for some reason, they have, no, not for some reason, this is like a global issue. They really have a problem with women. And they have a problem with women entering their space. And the funny thing about it is that I was doing stats on the gaming community. And it's pretty much split down the line. 50-50. It was based on the binary, male and female. But 50-50 participate in this community. Yet, mofos that they pitchforks up like we coming in on some sponsorship. I don't get it. You know? And I don't know, D, have you experienced like some crazy stuff in the space? Or have you noticed it?
Well, I haven't really been able to stream as much as I would like to, but
Mm-hmm.
there was one time that I was streaming with you that one time, and like it was this one guy who kept like chatting about like this random sexual stuff, and I'm like, bruh, like we all here talking about this, but this is what you choose to talk about. And
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed and it really depends on the gender of whoever's streaming, because like I've seen dudes stream and no one's talking about, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that,
Mm-hmm.
this, that, and the third. It's, oh, oh, that was a good kill. Watch this, watch out for that, this, that, and the third. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the gender of the streamer, the flow or the topic of a conversation switches completely. And that ain't right. Not
Yeah,
right at
it
all.
does. And that's the thing I've noticed too, because I was in this women's stream, and I don't know what she was streaming, but she had on like a tank top or something, and she was streaming, and somebody who is actually a regular in her chat, in her stream, came out and just flat out said, "Show your titties." Now stuff
What?
like trolls come in all the time with crazy stuff like that, but this person was like supposed to be a regular and felt that was okay, and I'm like,
Wildly disrespectful. Like,
wildly, wildly,
no
and
one's
my
coming
thing,
into.
huh?
No, I'm saying, yeah, nobody's about to come into like some dude stream talking about, hey, dude, take your shirt off. Like that's not gonna happen.
And not in a million freaking years. And my whole thing is, I talk about sex. I talk about sex a lot. Like the next topic is going to be about sex. You know, I do, but I don't want to be bombarded with it when I'm just doing regular stuff. You
Right.
know, and okay, that's more of that stupid troll syndrome. Now, see, here's the thing, and this is gonna kind of like play into what I was gonna talk about next, but we cannot afford to continue to look at these people as trolls. I'm sorry, we can't. Like, I had a friend who was he classified himself as a troll. And he flat out said, "Look, I don't
Like
believe
on
the stuff I'm
purpose.
saying. I'm just saying the stuff to get people mad." You know? People believe this stuff. Like, when you look at the numbers of sexual violence against women, 1 in 4 women will have been raped in their lifetime. And if you break it up by race and ethnicity, it goes to 1 in 3. 1 in 4. Like,
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
women are not raping themselves. You know? That's not what's happening. So when you think of it as a troll and you try to just brush it off, oh, that's just a troll, he da 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 da, you're missing the fact that that's a real person. You're missing how big this really is. How big of a problem this is. And when you just write off as or somebody just joking, like, these aren't jokes. Hint, 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 Bill Cosby.
Oh boy.
I'm just saying, like, he joked about it, and come to find out he was actually practicing what he was preaching. And that's why I feel certain language and certain conversations should not be tolerated, period. And if you want to support, like, my community, or if you want to support women streamers, then I feel like it is, I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's up to the men. Point blank, period. When you have women say something over and over and over, and they try to change their behavior, they try to do the right things, they try to do everything to protect themselves, and the statistics still say 1 in 4. It ain't us. It's just simply not us. And I feel like there's nothing more than we can do besides shooting motherfuckers. And I'm just being so completely honest about that. Because it is serious. You know? And I kind of want to throw this out there to D and the guys who are in the chat. What do you do when you witness sexism? Like, and it not only in a public field, because people can show out in public, you know, but what about at home in private when you're with your homeboys? Like, what do you do? Or what can you do?
Okay, well, I'll have to speak on what I can do because, the few guys I hang out with, fraternity brothers and stuff like that, for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
they stay on the level and try to, keep stuff in control. Like most of the guys I hang out with, like in my group chats and stuff like that, they're all married men.
Mm-hmm.
So it also, I won't say it's an age thing because it's definitely not an age thing, but I
Mm-hmm.
think it's kind of where that person is in their life and how they were raised and what they, kind of went through.
Mm-hmm.
And like this one person I'm seeing right now saying, it's a lot to do with the culture. Like I remember growing up, you would see the cat calling, like, you'd see guys on the street watching girls walk by talking about, hey baby, and
Mm-hmm.
she might smile or she might walk away or she might do something, and the guys are laughing it off, and you as a young buck, you see that, you're like, oh, okay, well, obviously that's what I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm supposed to be. So now when I get there, that's what I'm gonna do. Or like when you're in school and a boy hits a girl, it's never, oh, he shouldn't hit her. It's, oh, he likes you. And that doesn't help. That just makes things worse. Because if you're telling 5-year-old, 5-year-old Timmy, hey, if you hit this girl, it's okay. It just means you like her. When Timmy turns 15, when Timmy turns 25, when Timmy turns 35,
Mm-hmm.
that's all he's gonna know. So from a culture perspective, us as guys, it is on us. We have to, put that out there and say, hey, this isn't right. This isn't how you treat women.
Mm.
This isn't how you conduct yourself. So hopefully, if enough of us do that, it'll help.
Yeah. And I feel like we have to change how we relate and how we communicate with each other, because it's pretty much taught that men are predators and women are prey.
Yeah.
Like, men are always supposed to pursue a woman, and I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm being really extremely binary about this. I am aware that I know there's a whole spectrum in between female man and woman. I completely understand that, but for the sake of this particular conversation, I'm gonna be real binary. But yeah, they're taught, and a woman's supposed to just sit there and wait. Supposed to be like the damsel in distress, and she's the one who's supposed to be chased, courted, pursued, and she's supposed to not really show that she's interested in somebody else. She's supposed to play hard to get. There it goes. She's supposed to
Yeah.
play hard to get. And so it kind of enforces that idea that men are supposed to keep trying, or pursuing and pursuing. If she says no, you keep going, because that's what a man is supposed to do. And and if she rejects you, then it's either something wrong with her, or the man feels what's the word? Slighted, for a better use of the word, slighted, that he feels the need to turn around and sometimes get violent because she said no. Because for some reason, all that extra quote unquote work he put in didn't get the girl. You know?
Yeah. A lot of times a guy will say, "Oh, well, you was ugly anyway," or "You weren't that fine," or "I don't even mess with your type," or "I want your friend anyway,"
Mm-hmm.
just so that they can save, what little bit of ego they've got left after being rejected. Especially if like they're around their boys, and their boys hyped him up. It was like, "Oh, you can't talk to her, you can't talk to her," and
Mm-hmm.
he goes through the rites of passage, for lack of a better term, and then he
Mm-hmm.
fails, and then his boys are there. So for him to save face for those boys, the same boys that won't be there at the end of the day, but whatever. When he gets rejected, he's got to do something so he still looks like a man in their eyes, and that's where a lot of problems happen also.
Right. How masculinity, um, oh dang, I'm sorry, I just looked at
The chat.
yeah, the chat. And let me try to finish. I wait a minute. I completely lost my thought from what, because that is, Ash just brought up something, another layer to the how sexism kind of, it doesn't just affect women, it really affects everybody. The whole Chris Brown thing, um, and the fact that he was raped at 12 by a woman. However, we don't see it that way because for some reason a 12-year-old is considered a man.
Oh yeah, he had sex with an older woman. He is the man automatically.
And for some reason a woman can possibly nowhere near be a predator. And it's like, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So not only can our women aren't protected, but little kids aren't protected. And when I think about streaming and gaming and Twitch, I hope I'm not going all over the place, but a lot of kids use that service.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. And they're on there witnessing the sexism, so they're internalizing it. They're growing up thinking that this is okay. But they're also in a space where they can get preyed on. Because you can't. Predators lurk. And they are everywhere. Everywhere. We like to think that they're just a creepy old person, or we like to give it a look when it doesn't have a look.
Sure doesn't.
And when you're in a space and you're making those jokes with people you essentially don't know, there's a chance you're joking and kikiing with a predator. And you're allowing that person space in your community where there are kids, pretty much. Because I know people lie about their age and stuff, but I know
Oh yeah.
they're kids. Okay, wait a minute. I gotta take a breather because I know I'm going all over the place with this conversation. But I'm frustrated. Really, really frustrated because what more can be said? What I'm trying to get at, what more can be said? What more can be done for it to stop? Like, there is no reason why I should be scared to go into a space. And know that when I create this stream right here, this video, when I put a video up, that I know I'm gonna get harassed. I know for a fact because I'm sitting here, I'm affected. Women in my family are affected. My friends are affected. We stay quiet, it happens. We open up, it still happens. And not only does it happen, but we get harassed beyond belief. How? Like, how do you hear the stories? How do you sit there and just listen to somebody say, okay, this is hurtful, this is bothering me? 1 in 3 women are, well, for black women, 1 in 3 women will have been raped in their entire lifetime. 1 in 4 women would have experienced domestic violence. How do you look at these? I mean, look, do the math, count. If you're in your stream and you have 4 women in your stream, there's a chance one of them would have experienced rape or some kind of domestic violence within their lifetime. Fully understanding those stats, how do you sit there and still think it's okay to make those jokes? How do you still think it's okay to just not care about women? Women you say you want support from. How? How is it so easy to just... And when you look at it from a streaming perspective, it's such an intimate space. Like, sometimes you can go to a streamer's channel every day, have conversations, play video games with them, talk about personal stuff, you know, and build a bond, and then turn around and say some of the most vile, insensitive stuff ever. But you know what? I guess it doesn't matter because these people be talking about their moms any kind of way.
Yep.
That same behavior that they have. So why the heck would they even care about a stranger? For people to get people to even care, we have to put it in the terms of, what if this was your mom? What if this was your sister? What if this was your grandma? What if this and absolutely nothing. Wait a minute, I'm reading the chat right now. Trolling is the belief that if they're bullying you, it makes them feel better. Especially in the gaming community, empathy messes with power fantasy, so it's blocked out. Yeah, and you know what's frustrating about, you make up a valid point. The gaming community, there is so much can happen within this realm, storytelling wise. And when I look at games now, it's the same damn game. I'm sorry, it is. I know I haven't been playing games. I'm not like a hardcore gamer or whatever, but Call of Duty, Destiny, Halo, all the motherfuckers look alike to me. You know, the Drake collection and Lara Croft, that looks alike to me. I mean, Grand Theft Auto, all the games look and feel alike. It's nothing new. And this space has the opportunity to tell the stories or to put people in a position to where change can actually happen. You know? You can actually create a story that could put a man in a woman's position to know what it is actually like. And to actually start a real conversation and real dialogue instead of having the same thing over and over and over. And it's flat out sickening because so much money is being played to play the same thing but with better graphics. Now, I don't know. D, you pretty much played more games than me. Am I lying, or is it just like, or maybe I'm just not as worldly to video games?
They're all the same. You might get a new feature here or a new skin there, but if you really look at them from like the bigger scale, they're like all your shooting games are just about the same. Yeah, it's all just about just
Yeah.
about the same. It's a slightly different can of paint.
It, and I really wish developers would just put down their freaking pitchforks, chill out, and allow room for other stories to be told that can make a difference. Like, I don't mind the shooter games. I don't mind them. I play them. I enjoy them. Sometimes when I'm frustrated, I want to shoot a couple of folks in GTA. You know, that's just how it is when I'm frustrated. But if that's, I feel like it's a problem if that's all there is, and it's creating a, or it's allowing a toxic culture to flourish.
I
You
mean,
know?
but you have games of other genres and other styles and stuff like that. But unfortunately, that's not where the money's going. That's not where the crowd, the majority is, heading. They're not flocking to like, for example, your Final Fantasies. Like in the African American male community,
Mm-hmm.
if you show, Tyrone a new copy of Madden and a new copy of Final Fantasy, he's gonna recognize Madden. That's what he knows. He's gonna recognize live. He's gonna recognize those sports games because that's what we grew up on. That's what we're taught. That's what we're given. Yeah,
But you
you
know,
might recognize a Mario here and there, but for the
mm-hmm.
most part, it's those bigger, those generic titles.
But you know what's funny? I actually had a conversation with somebody in a chat whether it's the people, the consumers versus the marketing. Because me being the casual gamer that I am, when I look at commercials, when I see commercials and stuff when it's referring to gaming, it's the same games. It's like it's the same. It is your Madden. It is your Halo. It's Grand Theft Auto. What other commercials have I seen? I have seen. There is that Xbox commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where it was like Laura Croft. I think a racing game or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's pretty much the Halos. I
Halos, Maddens, Call of Duties.
yeah. So when that's all you see marketed, I mean, well, now we're in the age of the internet where we have, research and, we go on and find it, whatever. But if that's all you see marketed, how do you get on the consumer for wanting those games? Or for gravitating towards those games, or for purchasing. Oh, give me a minute because the dogs, I don't know what they heard, but Snow, he talks back to me, just to let you guys know.
Really?
Yeah. All right. But how do you blame the consumer for wanting those games if that's all they're exposed to? Or how do you sit there and say, oh, well, I personally don't believe they don't play it. Maybe they're not honest about playing it because it's not seen as a man's game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, like The Sims. Like, there are quite a few African American males that play The Sims. Because they be on Tumblr doing, jazzing up the custom content for The Sims like it's nobody's business. You know? So, how do we, I guess, counter, the marketing and also the hype? I guess people were like calling it the hype or whatever of games, and it's always only towards certain games. And LJ brought up a point about indie games, how indie games are coming out the look. Indie games about to about to put these developers on their feet. I honestly feel that way. Honestly, I'm gonna help. I'm gonna spread as much information I can, play as many indie games as I can to make sure that these developers know that
Somebody wants their money, or somebody wants to
somebody
give them.
exactly, and that we're not gonna settle for the same stuff again. You know, we're not. I'm quick. I got played Transistor. I played Never Alone. Actually, I'm gonna play another indie game, not next week, but it's gonna be related to the topic for next week. So I'm all on board for the indie game hype, and definitely shout out to. I don't want to say how. I don't even. Is it Arion? Is that how you pronounce it, Arion? Because I've
Orion?
seen that game. It's a new game that's being developed. It's being crowdsourced, and it's basically about a African prince and princess, if I'm not mistaken. But it's established in a world where basically colonialism didn't exist in Africa.
Huh.
Yeah, exactly. And the pictures of it look freaking amazing. I am so waiting for that game and to back that game up just to have the opportunity to tell a different story. Because people
Yeah,
are just
apparently.
tone deaf.
Yeah, we looking at their. I'm looking at their Kickstarter right now. Apparently, they're already funded, so I guess it's just a matter of time now.
Oh, they already funded?
Yeah,
Oh, that is
it's like
dope.
back. Let's see. According to the website, back maybe sometime in October, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So yeah.
snap. I'm glad because I saw it. I ain't got the ducats to donate like that, but I am so ready for it. I'm ready for another story. But that kind of like sidetracked from what I was talking about. Let me get back to the topic at hand. So, I covered like the fears of entering, and I covered what have what can guys do to, I guess, help. Um, Another thing I want to talk about was, oh yeah, another element to colonial colonialism is not pushed by AAA games. That is, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that is a lie. Yes, it is. Um. Oh gosh. How do I even want it? That's like a whole nother topic. Cause a lot of things you won't know is an issue until you have some awareness of how our society works and how it has worked over the years, ever since its existence, and how everything is catered towards a certain gaze. Everything is catered towards a certain perspective within the game industry. Even though it is shown that the statistics for people who play games are split between men and women, it is the industry itself is pretty much male dominated. So a majority of the stories told and how they're presented is from that perspective, and the only perspective. And that is a problem because we all do not experience the world like that. That's just not how it works. But that, oh my gosh, that is a topic that I did not prepare for at all. And I cannot get into it. But I do want to get back to, but it's, oh God. Okay, let me just get back to the topic. Because, yeah. Another element of the whole sexism thing when it comes to streaming is the I call it the Madonna horror complex, and that's what it's called pretty much. But how when it comes to women streamers, how based on how they look or how they act determines whether they're a good streamer or a good gamer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because if a girl or a woman decides to show skin, if she decides to, you know, be a little sexy, do cosplay, all of a sudden it Alright, so wait a minute. Now I got to go ahead and, okay, before I even get to that, now I got to correct this right here. How can it be male dominant if the population is split? Because the people in power, the people who make the stories, the people who create the games are men. They're men. That's how it's male dominated. The population that experience the gaming, that take part of the gaming experience, that is minute because of the fact that the people who create it, the people who put money towards it, everything that goes is male dominated. It's mostly men, and they're keeping women out. They're not giving women an opportunity to tell their stories. They're not giving women an opportunity to develop, to engineer, to create these games. Like, that's how it's male dominated. Like, huh? Oh, go ahead. You want to say something, D?
Outside of Laura Croft, I can't really remember like there are a couple female, leads in games, but it's very few and far between. I mean, Rihanna was in Assassin's Creed like a couple years ago, but that was like it.
And that's another thing. Even you could even look at the games that are made. Let's run down the list of games that have female characters, female protagonists. I can think of Remember Me, Beyond Good and Evil, Transistor, of course, Tomb Raider. Most
Final
recently, Mirror's Edge. Huh?
Final Fantasy X2, Final Fantasy 13, that whole stretch. Not a lot. I mean, it's a few. Assassin's Creed Liberation, that was the PlayStation Vita. Kind of made its way.
Assassin's Creed Syndicate gives you the option to play between the twins. Exactly. One is a male character and the one's a female character.
But from what I hear, most of the missions is done in the eyes of the guy. But I haven't played it yet.
I heard that too, which was like a freaking rip. Like, why even do it or promote if you're gonna half-ass it?
Well, funny story. In the last Assassin's Creed, Unity, that was the one where you had the multiplayer and stuff like that, and people were upset that there were no female models. Mm-hmm. And they tried to play it off and say that the female body was like too hard to program for or something like that, and people lost their minds. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of how Heavenly Swords, that was a good one. And I think that's essentially how we got to where we are with this twin set.
Mm-hmm. So okay, so now how many games were that we named?
Maybe 15, and I'm being really generous.
And to be honest, I know about those games because I look for those games. I personally go out and look for those games. Of all those games, how many of them are highly promoted that you think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, besides Final Fantasy? Like, I really besides Final Fantasy, how many of those games you think like a lot of people know about?
Heavenly Sword got pushed pretty big when the PlayStation 3 first came out because and actually I hate to say this, but they pushed it as a female God of War, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what its selling point was.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Remember Me, barely remember that. Oh, there was that one game, Mirror's Edge. I
Mm-hmm.
remember EA pushing that for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And don't include Tomb Raider because everybody and their mama know about
no,
Tomb Raider.
not, yeah, we're not gonna include Tomb Raider. That's
Yeah.
too easy. Eh, I ain't got too much more after that, honestly.
Me
Princess
neither.
Peach, Princess Peach, she had a game on the DS. That happened. That happened.
And Mario and Yoshi and them had how many games now?
That's not the point. We talking about women and the games that they have.
See, and it's like amongst us, we're struggling to like name games that have female protagonists.
And I'm pretty sure all those games were made by men.
And that
I'd put money down that most of them, if not all of them.
I wish I would have looked it up, but but
Yo, Green Yoshi's definitely a boy. He's a boy. He's a
but
boy.
yeah. Um. So when I say so, even though I say that the statistics for gamers are split, me saying it's male dominated means that women barely have a say. Like we barely have a say in the type of stories that's written. If it's anything outside of the cis male gaze, then it's like it freaking doesn't exist. It freaking doesn't exist. And that's the problem. So, now let me bring it back around to what I was going to say about the Madonna horror complex. It's funny, again, how women who choose to be sexy are seen as bad streamers or bad gamers, as opposed to women who dress more conservatively, or they don't play into that, or they downplay their sexuality in some kind of way. And that is a layer of sexism that I think kind of goes overlooked. Because it is so ingrained in us that women should be quote unquote classy. Like, and it's utter complete bull. And so when they see a woman who is sexy in cosplay, it's like automatically, oh, she's bad, or she's just doing it for attention, and if so the heck what. And also the extra layer of, if she gets attacked, then it's like she quote unquote deserves it. Huh? Yeah, she asked for it. Which no one deserves to be harassed. No one. Like how they dress, how they act, like they don't deserve to be harassed. It is so hard for me to have this conversation because it just makes sense to me. It freaking makes sense to me. And I'm just having a hard time understanding why it is so hard for other people, for it to make sense to other people. And I know the world is not going to exist in this perfect bubble how I want, but why is it if on the little Twitch channel preview, you know how you just scroll down the channel list or whatever, and you can see, depending on how the person has it set up, you can see, of course, how they, a picture of them if they use the webcam. Why is it if someone sees a girl in something as simple as a tank top, why would they go and all of a sudden feel the need to go in there and ask her to strip, or call her a slut, call her a whore, da-da this and da-da that? Why can you just not Just not
It's
go to
gonna
her
repeat.
page. Hmm.
I mean, that's easy. It's easier said than done. I mean, like it was said earlier before, guys. I saw this on Twitter the other day. Like
Hmm.
one of the reasons why street harassment even is the way it is because guys are essentially trying to get attention. Like they didn't get it growing up, they didn't get it from whomever, so they do what they have to do to get that attention from women when they're on the streets. Because if a woman keeps walking or ignores, then he gets louder. He gets more rambunctious.
Hmm.
But if a woman was to turn around and approach him and face him and engage him, it's oh man, you crazy lady, what you doing? Da 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 da.
Hmm.
So I think it kind of comes back to with this, it's like the guy essentially is trying to get his little 15 seconds of fame by seeing this woman who's in her tank top and saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna jump in and I'm gonna say something to get her attention because I probably tried to get her attention before,
Hmm.
being a nice guy, and it didn't work out. So now I'm gonna do something bold and exciting, and that'll get me noticed."
Hmm.
So it comes down to guys just trying to be noticed, trying to get the attention of whomever, whenever.
That's that's true. Okay, X. Okay, X. You keep saying it's a mental illness.
You know what? Honestly, I can't really say that I buy that it's a mental illness.
Exactly, because I know people personally who have a mental illness and they don't act like this, and I feel like personally it's disrespectful to people with a mental illness, and
Yeah.
it's another reason why I no longer say that these men are acting like children, because it's disrespecting children, and there are children who are being raped, sexually assaulted, who are experiencing violence, and they have full understanding of what the hell is going on and why it is wrong, because they are experiencing it themselves or they know someone who would experience it. It's very, very insulting to say, oh, they're acting like children, one, and it's very, very insulting to just wash it off as a mental illness. Like, yeah, depression is considered a mental illness, but to label the entire behavior and the culture that we're in as as a mental illness, it's hard for me to get jiggy with just labeling it as a mental illness. It's hard for me to really get jiggy with that, because I really feel like it's a cop out, you know, considering that I have experienced depression, and again, like I said, I am familiar with people who have experienced mental illnesses, and none of them behave um in a way that harasses and minimizes women. I'm not saying people with a mental illness can't. I'm not saying they can't or they don't. I'm just saying it's just a hard thing for me to say, to just brush it off as just a mental illness. I don't know. Do you
I,
want to
I,
elaborate, D?
I see what you're saying because you essentially because then that would essentially mean that okay, all these guys that are out here trolling these women or being trolls, they could take a pill or whatever, and then that'll be the end of it. And like you said, some people just do it because they want to.
Hey,
That doesn't mean that there's something wrong with them. Some people genuinely decide that they are going to rile people up. Does that mean that they have a mental illness? No, not necessarily. They might just get a kick out of seeing people, of controlling people.
mm-hmm. And it also ignores the fact that this behavior is taught, and it also ignores the subtle ways that this behavior is taught. So if we just easily label it as a mental illness, then most likely what the pharmaceutical company is going to do is try to find a pill for it, try to find a pill, cover it up. Oh, it's not an issue anymore. But we're still going to have these sexist video games. We're still going to have these sexist commercials. We're still going to teach boys, or, you know, boys and girls that, hey, if a boy hits you, oh, he just likes you. That means he just, as opposed to saying, look, that's not okay, he's a jerk, you know what I'm saying? A boy should not hit you because he likes you. He needs to learn how to use his freaking words. It's going to ignore the fact that women who don't give their number to a guy turn around and get killed for it. Like, it ignores what's really going on. You know? Let me read this comment really quick. It's not usually oppression of women. It's more trauma that these women have been through because of individuals. Because the individuals don't represent the North. See, yes, they do, X-Lane. They do represent. 1 in 71 men are raped. 1 in 4 women experience rape or domestic violence. 1 in 4. Like, that is more than just a mental illness. That is a societal problem, and it's not just here. It is a global. That's the point. This is exactly it. How do you listen to the stats? How do you listen to the stories and then write it off as if it's not the norm, when it completely is the normal for us? It is the norm. Like, and I know there are some women who, I haven't experienced it, you know, so it's not true. Well, you know what? Good for you. Do you want a cookie? You know? Like, do you freaking want a cookie? Because it's a whole bunch of us having to deal with it, and it's not okay. And you are so right. A societal problem / conditioning can result in mental ailments. That is absolutely true. It can result in mental ailments. But again, to write it off strictly as a mental illness and not a symptom of a bigger problem is wrong. The stats, you can go to the CDC. The CDC. I got my stats from the CDC of the stats for women being domestic violence and rape. Go to the CDC. These are government stats. It's knowledge out there for you, and this is exactly why another reason why I wanted to do the video, because I don't think people know this. I don't think people realize how big of a problem it actually is. Like, if you are not aware of the problem, the symptoms, or anything like that, or it just does not personally affect you, then you're gonna think this is some anomaly. Like, it's just like, okay, that's weird, that's not the norm, when it freaking is. You know? I don't know. Do you want to elaborate?
Let me see what's going on in here. Mental illness refers to a wide range mental health disorders, depression, everything. All you are saying can result in the person's psyche being affected. Okay, I agree with that. Mental illness can come from many places. It can come from seeing the same thing over and over again. But no, it's okay. Just stay down. But social cues ingrained in themselves. Okay, I mean, and that's true, and I will never debate that. But also, my thing is, it's a lot of that nature versus nurture. Like I was saying, with those guys growing up on the street side, you know, essentially, you do what you see. Does that necessarily mean that these people who are repeating it have mental illnesses? Maybe, maybe not. But then if you're saying that they have mental illnesses, then you've got to say, okay, well, the boys on the block, they've got mental illnesses because they've been doing it for so long because they saw so-and-so do it, and on and on and on. Or we don't know everyone's situation. Some people could have, Tourette's and those type of things where they have to respond. But at the same time, some guys are out there and they believe that they have the right to, go up to a woman or see a woman who's streaming and tell her to take her shirt off.
Mm.
She doesn't know, he don't know her from Adam, but because he's a guy, but because of what his dad taught him or what his uncle told him about women or this, that, and the other, he believes that this is how it goes. I don't believe that that necessarily means that he has a mental disorder. I believe that he's doing what he was taught. He was doing what he was trained to believe is right.
Okay. Let me go ahead. Did you really just sit here in this chat and say women are raped, but so is men? When I just sat here, see, this is the shit I'm talking about. I just sat here and said 1 in 5 women are raped. 1 in 71 men are raped. How the hell do you listen to those statistics and then turn around and say women are raped, but so are men? How? I acknowledge the fact that men are raped. 1 in 5 compared to 1 in 71. And I also said that sexism and plays a role in how we look at how when men are raped. It plays a role in how we don't see it as rape. Because I brought up the whole Chris Brown situation. Like, that's it. I mean, this is exactly what I am talking about. How the numbers are there. Studies have been shown over and over and over again. How do you beat that barrier to go from it just being numbers to realizing, whoa, this is a big deal. This is not right. This is not okay. How do you go from the numbers to saying, you know what, we have a problem. We need to fix how we think. We need to fix how we think about women and men. Because to turn around and to think, after listening to the stats I just gave, to turn around and say, but men are raped too, and then to turn around and say that women are dealt just as harsh as men. Am I living in an alternate universe or something? Because that's not what I experienced. From my experience, it's really, really hard for authority figures to take a man being raped seriously when it becomes against a woman. Because the whole thing, men can get raped. Oh, he must have wanted. Yada, yada, yada. XYZ. All that comes into play. Particularly when I think about when women teachers get caught, and how it's like, it's never looked at as disgust when they're caught with a child. It's as something to be, she was a hot teacher, or this, that, and that. Or it's everything else besides the fact that she just sexually assaulted a child.
Yeah, I've seen it in like the last couple of cases where it was a woman who was, going to jail or getting arrested for doing stuff with boys. The guys are usually like, "Oh man, where was this teacher when I was growing up?" and da 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 da. But you flip it, and it's a guy who's raping these girls, and it's, oh, if that was my daughter, I'd have shot him up, or this guy's a pervert. He needs to be thrown under the jail. Like there isn't really quote unquote fair and equal treatment in either direction when it comes to that.
And
So
it's
I mean,
not, and it's not, and we know it's not. It's. Let me not say we know it's not, because it's clear as day that a lot of folks don't. Because if they did, we wouldn't be here.
Very true.
If we did, we wouldn't have the jokes, we wouldn't have the stats, we wouldn't have like all the crap that goes on. We simply we wouldn't have it. We I and the most frustrating thing about this is I wish I had the answer. After looking at the stats, after hearing the stories, I just wish I had just that one thing I could say or do to just have it stopped. So just that people could just be at peace. Like when I play video, like I don't even freaking play. I don't like multiplayer games. Sometimes I try to hide my identity when I play multiplayer games because I don't want to deal with the bull. I don't. I really I don't want to deal with the oh bitch hoe slower da 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 or threats of rape. Like I freaking don't want to deal with that. How is that okay? That I cannot spend my money and go into a space and have fun like other people. How is that not okay? And how is it always gender specific? Like it was me and another streamer playing H1Z1 and the streamer killed the guy. The streamer killed the guy, but I got the attack.
By the attack, I'm not sure what you mean
Not
by
the attack,
that.
but I got like he came up. Oh well, I should have shot your bitch or some crap like that. You need to get your bitch. Like I'm the one who got insulted.
Wait, you got in trouble even though you weren't the one that fired the gun?
I didn't kill the person in the game. The streamer who was a guy did. Yet the attack came my way. Like, are you freaking what? This is the crap that I'm talking about. Like, I can't even enjoy a space to have fun like everybody else because of my gender. How is that okay? And again, I agree with Ash. I'm sorry. The mental issue thing is a cop out. I'm just gonna go ahead. We can just disagree on this right here, but I truly believe it is a cop out because I feel like it is taught. It is taught in our society. It and the little things that we tell boys and the little things that we tell girls it implants the seed for the behavior that we see now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, these us men ostracize these guys who disrespect women gamers. I mean, do you? I mean, is it one of those things where when like I mentioned earlier, when you're around women, you have, oh, well, that's not cool, that's okay. But behind closed doors, is it the same story? Because from my experience, sometimes the two don't add up. But I don't hang around a lot of men like that. I mean, you do? I'm assuming you do.
I mean, it's weird because I mean, I remember I was in a chat room, a few years back or whatever, and this guy was, kind of speaking a little, a little disrespectful to a lady.
Mhm.
And, I actually tried to say something about it. He was like, hey, man, you little out of line. And, like, he came at me, was like, mind your business. You a punk, da 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 da. And then the lady, she jumped on and was like, nobody talking to you, mind your business. I'm like, oh, all right. My apologies. And then, and then after that, I decided not to say anything because
Mhm.
you just never know. Like sometimes, some guys who try to do the right thing, who try to, you know, stand up and say, hey, this isn't right, they get, that beat back. They get that, oh, what are you doing? You ain't got no business, mind your business. And then it's like, okay, well, maybe next time I might not do it. And unfortunately, it might be that next time where you need to do it.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's us as as men, we've gotta, stick with it. We've gotta hold each other accountable and, just, band together and try to stamp it out. But that's gonna be easier said than done.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about it. It is easier said than done. Um, I am trying to. Oh my gosh. Um, Give me 1 minute. Cause I'm trying to figure out. It's one more person. Sorry, it's one more person trying to join the discussion in the chat, and for some reason, I don't know how the notification works. And I really want her to participate in it. Okay, so actually, um, whoo, X, I D, do you want to take that comment? Cause D, do you want to take? Do you? I'm gonna pass. Cause I'm gonna pass the peas. I'm about to pass the peas like they used to do.
Um, I'm not going to say that women love the asshole men. I would say that it's taught that women love the asshole men. I ain't do the numbers, I ain't do the knowledge, I ain't got the numbers to reinforce that. But I think it's not so much that women in like commercials and stuff like that, women go for the macho guys. When you see TV shows and stuff like that, they go for the guys that are, quote unquote mean. But I don't know if those numbers actually add up. So when we see that on TV, when we see that in the movies, we take that for gospel and run with that. So I understand what he's saying, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think women love it. I think we are conditioned to believe that women love it. So
Honestly,
since
X. I'm not to cut you off, but no, we cannot talk via Skype. We cannot talk because a lot of the things you are saying are so infuriating because I'm giving you the numbers. I'm giving you the how big this issue is. So big. Like an article just came out about how the numbers for sexual assault from the police has surpassed that of the Catholic Church when they had their thing. The police, the people we are supposed to go to when we are targeted, when we
yeah,
experience violence, the people we supposed to go to are exhibiting this same behavior and are using their power to enact violence on women. What does women liking the asshole got to do with that? Like what? Like looking at the most basic, you just want to have. I cannot afford to have this debate without emotion because women are freaking dying and being raped. I cannot afford to have this without discussion. You could be calm and cool all you want to. Fine. But I'm not going to, because whether I'm angry, sad, loud, low, whatever, emotional or not, because through all this emotion, I'm giving you the numbers. I'm giving you the numbers. It's there. You can go to the CDC and read it yourself. You can go find the articles if you want to and read it yourself. It's there. My emotions and whether I'm emotional or not shouldn't be relevant. It's not relevant. Period. You just don't want to hear it. And you're choosing my emotion as a way to say, oh, well, you know,
she's
just to
being
throw
a
the
woman.
argument out the window.
Yep.
And that's what that whole sexism thing into play. Because it's funny because, like, if a guy was to sit here and to have an elevated voice to make his point, or get in your face, or get red, or whatever, it's seen differently. He's not emotional. He's aggressive. He's spirited. Passionate about what he's saying. Firm. Me, emotional. Like, interesting. But I did want to address, like, what D was saying when he approaches a situation and, you know, the woman says to back off. And I kind of want to talk about coping mechanisms, because this is hard to deal with. It's really, really hard to deal with. And like on my I have two Twitter accounts. I have the Sharky and I have the other one. And it's almost every day is something. Every day is something that reminds you how much the world hates women on some kind of level. So it's like when I do go to Twitch and it is my, you know, gaming is like my escape. So Twitch is like similar to that. One of my personal coping mechanisms would just be to either one, ignore it, because I don't want to have I don't want to have the conversation over and over again. I don't want to down the mood of the chat because, you know, somebody said a foul joke and here comes, you know what I'm saying, here comes Sharky, here oh Lord, here comes dissertation, like. And then also another coping mechanism is to the awkward laugh. You know, where it's like, oh, you so silly, brushed it off in hopes that it goes away. And like, it never goes away. So, and even though I say it is on men, how will they know if we don't tell our stories? If it's like jumping in the fire, like how will they know if we don't jump in the fire? But how do you keep jumping in the fire when it's like when you jump in, more gas is put on you? That's exactly what it seems like. It's like you're going in there to fight the fire, to, you know, be like, hey, look, this is not okay. This is why. Look at these stats, you know. Like, hey, we gotta stop this. We gotta chill. And then you're in there fighting it. You got your little water hose, and then here come a motherfucker and just pour gas all over it. And you're stepping back, you're doing your stop, drop, and roll. Like, all right, you get yourself together, and you try to go back out there again in the same thing. How do you even cope with that? How can you deal with that? Because it gets exhausting. It really, no one wants to talk about this all the time. No one wants to. No one wants to experience this all the time. And X, you're apologizing to me. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I feel like I got the best end of the stick. Because it's women who go through way worse than me, who from speaking out, which is why I created this private in the first place, who just for speaking out receive the treatment. I mean, it's just constant, non-stop, 24/7 harassment. And again, you can't think of this as a small few. It is an example of what's going on culturally because they think this is okay. It's culturally. And a support system, we have a support system, and a psychologist. Well, not everybody who is licensed knows what the hell they're talking about, or have a full understanding of what's going on when it comes to certain issues, because they cannot think outside of their bubble. So I might go to somebody and talk about the issues I experience, and it's like, oh, well, just, it's like you to slap a, it's like they want to slap a band-aid over it. Like, yeah, I might be okay after the talk, but it's not going to help what's going on culturally, and it's not going to stop it from happening. Like, I can take care of myself for me, but I can't take care of myself against what other people bring to me. You feel what I'm saying, D?
Yeah, you're right. You can only really protect yourself.
Yeah. So, and again, that's putting the onus on me to feel better when it's like, I'm not hurting myself. I'm not the one hurting myself. I'm not. The reason why I'm sitting here frustrated, upset, sad, angry, it's because this is the culture culture that we live in that tells men it's okay to be predators, that it's okay to harass women. That's why I'm here. Why the heck do I gotta go see somebody? Stop bothering me. Is that too much to ask? And that's a rhetorical question, because I'm just from a space of, why can't you just leave us alone? How is that so hard? How can you just not go out your way to call us names, to rape us, to harass us, to kill us? Like, how could you just not hit us? Like, how could you just not do that? It just, you're not doing something. It takes more energy to do something than it is to not do something. How is that so hard? I'm saying women who tell their stories forget trolled, so they can only tell their story and deal with their results of the story they have told.
Okay, well, so I'm confused because is he trying to say that women shouldn't tell their stories, or is he saying that
That's what I'm trying to
should?
figure out. So women shouldn't tell their story so they don't get harassed, or they do tell their stories and just deal with the harassment as opposed to telling people just don't harass women. We have laws against harassing women.
You've got laws against drunk driving, but
we're doing an amazing job of protecting women, considering the fact that I just read an article about how police are using their power to enact are using their power against women.
I'm not going to try to speak for XL, but it seems like he's saying that he feels that like there are answers, or that he has the answers, or that they're out there. But the problem is no one else really is going along with it, saying that women can and should tell them. That's not always okay. See, he's saying that women can and should tell their stories no matter what, but that's the problem. One, they shouldn't have stories to begin with. Like, if guys would leave women, like, I understand, if you walking down the street, you see a pretty lady, you want to say hello. I get it. Believe me, I do. But if she doesn't look interested, if she doesn't stop to speak, if she doesn't smile, leave her alone. Continue with your day. Let her continue with hers. If she has her headphones in, don't try to stop her to interrupt her music flow for you to try to woo her. Then start a militia against the power structure.
How do we start a militia? How? Particularly when
you need support. Can't get the support because the guys who are supposed to support you, or the women you can't get the support that you need because the guys are too busy out here being the problem.
And they use sexual violence as a way to shut us up.
Sure do. Sure do.
So, again, this goes all the way back to what I'm saying. We have done our part. We have tried to be calm. We tried to be nice. We changed the way we dress. We changed the way we act. We have done our part. What on earth do the men do? Like, at what point, when does it become a point for us, for the women to stop having to find a solution, and for the men to say, hey, look, this is a problem problem. Here is what we're gonna do to stop this. Why should it
Um,
have to come to a point where we have to burn down stuff, shoot up people? Like, why does it have to? Why?
well, unfortunately, because the guys themselves aren't experiencing it in the numbers that women are, or it's not a problem to them, there's no reason to fix it because unfortunately they don't see anything wrong. Like if I'm up at the top making, X amount of money, I'm not gonna care about minimum wage. I don't know what minimum wage is. I don't. What's minimum wage? So why am I gonna want to raise it? I don't even know what it is. I got to where I am. I'm making the money I'm making. You can do it too. You can do it too.
You know why I pause, right, D?
I'm sorry?
You know why I pause, right?
I'm gonna act like I don't know and take the bait. Why'd you pause?
Because one, I'm tired. And not like physically tired, just emotionally tired.
Oh, I think he's got it. Yes, this is a patriarchal issue.
Yes. Your chat is like a lot faster than mine.
I got that good internet over here.
Well, we have a question. Um, I can answer how to create a good streaming atmosphere and how to curb toxic culture in chat. I am not an expert because I just started personally. But I know the first thing that I did, was filter like certain words. I curse. And honestly, I don't have a problem with people in my chat cursing. But I do have curse words filtered. And I also have certain slurs and terms filtered because you're not going to roll up in my chat and derail on some foolishness. You just not. And if you are, you're going to have to be a little creative with your language to do that. That's the one thing that I do. The second thing is I haven't had a real toxic chat. I've been lucky. Not yet. It's going to happen. No ifs, ands, buts about it. It's going to happen. But also, I'm a firm believer in moderating. Some people live under this system that everybody's opinion needs to be heard. I don't. If it's something's being said that I know is hurtful, toxic, frustrating, remove it, purge it, keep it moving. If you are from the streamer's end and you witnessing something toxic going on and you know it's toxic, the one thing that I am starting to despise is people saying just ignore it. Like, I do ignore trolls and I block them and I remove them. But I think if someone is really hurt, it is okay to acknowledge that you understand why they are hurt by a comment that was made. Not saying, and this is like one of those situations to where if for some kind of way, like you're busy, doing your thing and a conversation just goes way, way left, stepping up and saying, look, hey, that is not okay. and acknowledging that you are there and you understand why the person is hurt, I think that can go a long, long way. Because, and that's what I wish I could get her in the freaking chat, but I'm very selective about whose streams I sit in and chat with. Like, I will lurk in a stream for a long time, 2 to 3 weeks. I will lurk in a stream for a long time before I even say the first hi. I'm here. I'm da da da, because I'm looking for signs that this person is, whether they're cool or they're not, and how understanding they are of certain issues, and if they will allow something in the chat that will essentially be toxic and harm people like me. Will they say anything? Will they just go, oh, just like, do they have a full understanding of what is really going on?
Like some sort of protocol in place.
Hmm?
Like some sort of, pretty much if they got some sort of protocol in place for, foolishness.
X, really? Are you doing that devil's advocate crap? Because if that was it, then that was like a waste of time. Like, whether I said it was a patriarchal issue or a sexism issue or whatever, did you understand what I was trying to say? Like, because that devil's advocate crap, not cool. It's taking away time that could be focused on getting better. But back to Ash was saying, creating a good streaming culture. Another way to create good stream culture, listen to people, because we're not going to be aware of all the issues, because we live in our own world, and that's just how it is. So we're not going to be aware of every single issue that is out there. And when somebody brings up that something said was very harmful or offensive, take it into thought for a second. Just for a second. And if it's an issue that you're just completely unaware of, then if you want to research it or just stop talking about it. Because there's so much to talk about. So many jokes to be had, that we don't have to resort to the same offensive stuff over and over and over again.
Well, you mean I can't act like I'm on Black Twitter and recycle the same topics?
Huh?
I can't be like I'm on. Oh,
wait, I just got what you said. Yeah. Yeah. And at the end of the day,
fine. I need to talk about salary wages. What you mean?
Yeah. And the thing about it is that we're not going to agree on everything. We're not going to find everything offensive. Like, I know I have some problematic views. I know I do. I'm going to tell you straight up, I do. I'm growing. I'm learning. And I also know what to say and what not to say. And I have no problem of shutting the hell up if I know what I'm about to say is really, really going to harm a marginalized group. It's not that important for my voice to be heard. It's not that important. Like, for real. I really can just chill, read a book, tweet, play video games. I can really do something else. I don't have to tell that wild joke. I I just don't. I don't have to make that offensive comment. I don't. I don't have to express my I don't. And I could just sit and have the view within myself. I could even go as far as not having to teach it to my kids. It it's so easy. It's so easy. And actually, and I have some level of respect for those who do have problematic views, but keep it mute. Can't change everybody's mind. But if you can make a conscious effort to not actively harm someone else, then I can deal. I can honestly deal. Because not being an asshole takes work. Even if you don't agree, and even if you choose to be stubborn within your beliefs, choosing to not, push the envelope further and further, it takes work, and it's something I can respect. So, I have to deal with people who have issues like this. This is what clinical psychologists do. Oh, gosh.
Don't do it.
And I am completely aware of what you're doing, what you're trying to do, and like the field you're going into X. And I'm going to tell you this: you really have to dig deep and do research on confirmation bias and how that can affect studies, how it affects science, how it affects how we interact with people, because we don't live in a bubble. What's taught is not free of biases. It's really not. And for you to fully help and be of service, you have to be aware of that. Have to be. If not, you're going to be a problem. And I've seen it so many times where people, because they are doctors, they are this, they think they above and beyond wrong, hurtful, offensive, discriminatory views. And yeah, that's not the case. That's not the case at all. Because when you think about it, just not too long ago, when women were experiencing depression and just stress, it's like basically just stress from living in this type of society, doctors recommended dildos. It's because they weren't having enough sex. They weren't having enough orgasms. Oh, that's the problem. It's not us men. It can't be us men. We're not doing this. You just need to get laid. What?
Hysteria is real. Gotta get that taken care of.
Yeah. So be real careful with that. D, what do you think could be done to create a more opening, a welcoming atmosphere, a good, non-toxic atmosphere? What do you think?
It really does come down to having moderators. Like, you as a streamer, you're not gonna have time to police what's going on in the room or to see what people are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So you essentially need to have people who I won't say are necessarily like-minded because you need people with different opinions, but who have a general idea of what it is that you're trying to build and know, okay, this is what you're trying to build. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep an eye out for people who are trying to disrupt that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, give a warning,
Mm-hmm.
off rip if you want to, or you can kick the people out just because you can. Like it's just, you know, you gotta pretty much you gotta build it up. You can't depend on the room to self-moderate. We've already seen that that doesn't happen. It doesn't work. Let's not
Mm-hmm.
just go ahead and toss that out. So get you some good, like-minded or closely minded moderators.
Mm-hmm.
Discuss with them what it is you're looking for out of the chat, what
Mm-hmm.
you believe should be happening, creating safe spaces and all of that. And if they agree with you, they'll do their best to do that with you.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing. As a streamer or as a streamer, I'm looking at this from a streamer. That is your space. That is your space. You set the tone for your community, which is one of the reasons why I said I wanted to have this talk and I wanted to create this video because in my space, my rules, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, racism, slut shaming, all that ain't gonna fly. It ain't gonna fly. And as a streamer and as you grow, you're gonna come across some hard questions. Some hard questions. One of the things is, do you value quality over quantity? Do you do you want a booming stream and you just don't care who's in it? Or do you want a community where everybody can feel involved? Because if you want a community and a safe space for everyone involved, that means you're going to have to kick out some undesirables. You're going to have to check some people. You're the leader of this ship. It is up to you. Don't let anybody disrupt that. Don't. And yeah, that's the best advice I can give about not AD, I ain't gonna lie. I was thinking the same thing. Hey,
I was like, wait a minute now. We, we,
I was
we're,
thinking the
we're
same
on
thing.
this
I
Friday
was
Eve.
like, I think D should be offended by that. Go ahead and say what you gotta say, D.
I understand everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and I get what. Okay, all right. He agrees with the guy talking about 1 point. Some means a lot. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I understand. I'm cool. I'm cool. I'm cool. It's
Okay.
just, I
I'm
mean,
sorry.
and people are going to agree and people are going to disagree. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, can you get the primary objective done? Can you put aside your differences, look past your egos, and get stuff done.
Mhm.
So with Xavier, I get where he's coming from. I understand what he's trying to do.
Mhm.
But, I also feel that there's a time and place for that. And I don't think the questions he was trying to ask or the thought process he was trying to go for, I don't know if this was the right time for that.
Mhm.
So that's why it kind of really came off as abrasive or as condescending or not understanding the issue.
Mhm.
When in actuality, I believe, he got it. I think he understood what was happening. Believe he understood what you were trying to say. But what he was trying to do wasn't conducive to this specific avenue or what was going on. Like, this is more about you trying to explain yourself and talk about what's on your mind and especially let people know, hey, in this world, in my space, this is what happens. So, you know,
But is it ever okay?
to come through
Because,
and
huh?
ever okay to do what?
Huh? I'm
Is it ever
saying,
okay?
is it when someone is telling their story and you do read the numbers and you see how much of a problem it is, how do you respond? How what is a and this is something I think we do have to think about. How do you respond? I know people say, what I'm saying, fall back and listen, and people have questions and stuff. But how? When I hear certain stories, sometimes I'm just so taken aback. Like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do, what to say. What? Because sometimes it's like a state of shock. And then when it comes to something that you don't experience or you don't want to believe, the instant reaction is to try to defend or minimize what's going on. And part of me feel like that's just never okay.
Hmm.
Because if enough people like do this, have like if enough people minimize or just brush off or defend, then nothing gets changed. Nothing changes. If we all just ignore it, nothing changes. That is something like I think about or have to think about. You respond by communicating, getting your voice heard, getting in line with these people, and overthrow the patriarchal system. I, I guess it's that simple. D, you ready?
I mean, how? How do you overthrow the patriarchal system? Like it's not like there's a castle that we just gonna storm, and throw like, have got these like super long ladders and climb up the side of the walls or nothing like that. This isn't like a Lord of the Rings siege on a castle.
And not only that, but when it's like legit feels like you against the world, like I don't, I don't know. I'm comfortable in saying I don't know.
And I think if more people are willing to admit that they don't know and try to get with people who are willing to think about it and talk it through, we can eventually, quote unquote, overthrow the patriarchal system. But the problem is, like, you can't just say overthrow the system, and everybody's gonna be like, oh yeah, that's it. That's what we gotta do. That's how we solve it.
Right, especially when people don't even want to sit there and believe the facts. Like, if people like just completely obtuse to the facts, then it's like
I'm sitting here like, oh, all I gotta do is slay the system. That's it. Okay, cool. Where's the system? Where can I find it? Can I Google Map it?
That is true. That is so true. Wow, we've been on this for 2 hours and 30 minutes. I was not expecting for it to go this long.
Did you want to wrap it up?
Do anybody in the chat have any questions that
do not involve overthrowing the system? let's just go ahead and get that out the way.
For real, that don't involve like legit questions, because I'm really just open to talk. I was kind of like all over the place. I had, let me tell you, if you had, so I can like just create some space for you to ask questions or whatever. Man, I had bullet points, talking points. You could ask D. I had articles, like I had that junk laid out, didn't I, D?
Yep, you sure did.
I had it laid out, and I went so far off from it, it's not even funny. But it's like one of them things where, like I said, all the facts, all the articles, all the information is out there. And for me, experiencing, like talking to people and dealing with social media and all that stuff, it's not even a lack of knowledge that's the issue. Even though I want to tell myself that and I want to fully believe that, it's not the lack of information. It's the fact that people just simply aren't willing to listen. They don't want to hear the facts. They don't want to listen. They don't want to change. They want to think of the world as what it is from what they were taught when they were little. And that's just how it is. So it's like, how on earth do we overcome that? And that's something that really has to be done from within. You have to want to learn more. You have to want to change your opinion. You have to want to care. And you cannot make anybody listen. You can't. You can't. And you will basically frustrate yourself trying. Because there are people who want to listen to change, and there are people who want to listen to derail and defend themselves, who don't care about what you have to say. They just want to tell you that you are wrong.
I disagree.
You're wrong, regardless. Alrighty, you guys. So the dogs are up here eating. So that is my cue. D, is there anything you want to add?
Nope. I had a blast, and more conversations like this need to happen in order for people to really, get it.
Mm-hmm.
And to hopefully, as XL says, to take over the system, to take it down. I mean, that would be ideal, but, got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, tons of work. Thank you guys for stopping by, chatting. Thank you for sitting and just being here. Like, for real. I really... You see? She's hoping that the government's gonna find us. Stop.
Really? This is how we go.
Oh my god, you are so silly. But yeah, thank you. I probably I don't foresee myself having another talk like this because again, it's for me personally, it's demoralizing. It has me create this whole, oh my gosh, I cannot stand people type attitude, and I don't want to be that way. You know, I don't. But there are plenty of people who are willing to talk, who will talk, and who will continue to talk. And I am so thankful for those people because they are doing the job I am doing. I just want to create a space where people feel welcome. That's it. And I want to have fun. And I want us to be at peace and try to help bring up other people because I didn't even get into race. I didn't.
That's not even.
That
There's not time.
It's one thing dealing with the issue separately, but bringing them together is like hell and high water. It's like hell and high water, bring the topics together. So next, I'm gonna let you guys know, but I'm probably gonna edit it when I upload the video. But the next topic, which will be 2 weeks from now, we're gonna be talking about BDSM. That is gonna be the next topic, and consent. And please, I'm gonna retweet it again. 3/5, they have an episode with Token Psycho about gaming consent. If you don't get into that episode, get your life, and get
You want to
into
post
it
a link or something for
before,
us?
huh?
So, you want to post a link or something?
What? What'd you say?
A link for it?
Oh, damn, I should have put it in the chat, but I retweeted. But
Okay.
get into that podcast, get into that episode, receive it, let it marinate in your spirit, particularly before we get to the late night chat 2 weeks from now, because it was so freaking on point. And I just go listen and get your freaking entire life. I know I'm gonna keep retweeting it because it's really pivotal to what we will be talking about then. So you guys, thank you. If you thought the video was informative or if it was just dismissed, I don't care. Like it when I post it live, share it, talk about it. Again, the comments will be disabled because I don't want to see it. I just don't like. If I'm on Twitter and people come my way, I can just minimize my ads or whatever. But I just don't want people to see it. Any of the bull that's gonna come the channel's way or the chat's way or whatever. I just don't, and I don't want other people to see it. I just want them to be able to receive the conversation however they want to receive it and move on. So, yeah. Follow on Twitter. I'm on Twitch. Everything is under Sharky Hoods. Again, thank you. And you guys have a wonderful night. Do you want to close out and say something, D? Do you want to give a shout out to a website or something?
No, I'm just here.
Okay.
I'm just here so I don't get fired. I'm just here so I don't get fired.
No, you didn't. All right, you guys. Have a good night.